You know, there's a silent pain that almost no man dares to admit out loud. A pain you can't see, but you can feel. And what if I told you that maybe, just maybe, the woman you believed was your partner, your companion, your soulmate, never really saw you for who you are? Worse, and what if I told you that without even realizing it, she was draining your energy, your vitality, your very essence, until you became a shadow of the man you once were? Sounds heavy? It is, and it should be, because it's real. Carl Jung, the master of deep psychology, spent his life studying the labyrinths of the human mind, and he discovered something few are brave enough to face: how unbalanced relationships, disguised as love, can quite literally destroy a man's psyche. No, this isn't about blame. It isn't about hate, it's about truth. And truth, my friend, isn't always comfortable. You're not here by accident. Something inside you brought you to this moment. Maybe that discomfort you pretend not to feel. Maybe that nagging sense that no matter how much you give, it's never enough. And let me give you a warning. After this video, you will never look at certain people or yourself the same way again. Get ready. Because what comes next is uncomfortable, but liberating. It all starts subtly, almost magically. She looks at you, not for who you are, but for who you could become. And you feel it. Of course you do. It's that gaze, part admiration, part hidden expectation. That sparkle that makes you think, she believes in me. She sees me. But does she? Carl Jung called this projection. And this is where the danger begins. Because often, she's not falling in love with you. She's falling in love with the idea of you, with the fantasy, with the character her mind created in the private theater of her own expectations. And without realizing it, you start acting. At first, it feels easy. You want to please. You want to measure up. After all, and what man doesn't want to be the hero in the life of the woman he loves? You try, you adjust, you mold yourself. But here's the brutal, devastating truth. The role she assigned you is unsustainable because it isn't real. She doesn't see you as you are. She sees you as the sum of her desires, her wounds, her fantasies, and her unmet needs. You become a mirror of what she's searching for, not a whole, complex, imperfect, real man. And you know what's even more cruel? The moment you start slipping out of that script, the moment your imperfections show, the moment you reveal that you're not that perfect character she projected, the spell breaks, and what's born is contempt, disinterest, silent punishment. It no longer matters who you really are, because she never wanted you. She wanted the image she created of you. And this is where many men start dying on the inside because they don't understand. They think, where did I go wrong? What did I do? I gave everything. But the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. You simply stopped being convincing in a role you should have never accepted. And the worst part, it's not just her fault. Because you, my friend, you participated in this. You wanted to be loved more than you wanted to be authentic. And right there is where you started disappearing from yourself. You think that once you realize this game, it ends, don't you? Number. That's when it truly begins. Because the cycle is more sophisticated than it seems. It doesn't just survive on idealization. It feeds on your hope, on your desperate attempt to recover a love that, in truth, never existed. Remember that beginning? When everything felt perfect? When she said you were different, special? When she placed you on that pedestal as the man who finally understands her? Yeah, that wasn't love. That was psychological seduction. It was her projecting a script. And you, unknowingly, accepted the lead role. But here's the thing. No man can sustain being a fiction forever. No one. And when your humanity starts to show, when you can no longer meet those unrealistic expectations, the game shifts. The eyes that once admired you now judge you. The smile that once embraced you now vanishes. The touch that once comforted you now becomes distance. And this is where the entanglement begins. She doesn't fully leave. She keeps you trapped, dangling by a thread of doubt. Because if she walked away, you'd wake up. You'd react. You'd realize that life exists without her. But no. She switches. One day, affection. The next, silent punishment. Today, I love you. Tomorrow, you're a burden, a mistake, a disappointment. And you, addicted to a love that was never love, fall into the cycle of, if I just do more, maybe she'll look at me like she used to. And this, right here, is where you start negotiating your dignity. You lower your voice. You avoid conflict. You swallow your truth. You tiptoe inside your own life. And little by little, without noticing, you stop being a man. You become a reflection of her demands. Anything she needs, you rush to provide. Anything she feels, you rush to fix. Anything she expects, you desperately try to deliver. And here's the most cruel part. The more you bend, the less she respects you. Because remember this, nobody respects a man who abandons himself. You think you're being loving, kind, a good partner? But in her eyes, like you're becoming predictable, submissive, emotionally disposable. And this is the climax of the cruel game. She realizes you're not going anywhere, that you fear losing her, more than she fears losing you. And in that moment, the balance of power shatters. And my friend, when that happens, it's as if you cease to exist. She no longer listens. She no longer sees you. She no longer desires you. Because to her, you've become something worse than an enemy. You've become a spineless man. And that's when you look in the mirror. And don't even recognize the man staring back. You know what's even crueler? The world never warns you about this. Nobody taught you. Nobody told you. But Carl Jung did. He screamed it for those willing to listen. What you do not confront controls you. And now, it's on you to decide. Will you keep bending, begging for scraps? Or will you finally begin to understand who you are? And who you need to free yourself from? You think I'm exaggerating when I say the wrong woman can parasitize your life? Then tell me, what do you call something that drains your energy, your joy, your will to live, and gives you back only anxiety, fear, and exhaustion in return? It has a name. And no, it's not love. It's emotional drain. It's psychic parasitism. It's energetic vampirism disguised as a relationship. You know that exhaustion that never goes away? That lack of motivation? That apathy? That heaviness in your chest you can't explain? Spoiler, it's not your job. It's not the economy. It's not stress. It's her. Or rather, it's what you allowed her to become in your life. Because here's a brutal truth. One you won't hear from your friends, your family, or the society that trained you to be an emotionally submissive man. The wrong woman doesn't want you happy. She wants you available. And for you to be available, you need to be weakened. A man who is whole, strong, centered, aligned with his purpose, is not manipulable, is not controllable, is not moldable. So, what does she do? She weakens you. Subtly, silently. A comment here. A criticism disguised as advice there. A look of contempt. A withdrawal of affection. A passive-aggressive demand. And little by little, without you even noticing, the very things that made you feel like a man begin to die. Your focus disappears. Your discipline fades. Your projects are abandoned. Your energy vanishes. And you know what's worse? She notices. And when she realizes you're exhausted, emotionally drained, she offers you exactly what keeps you trapped. Crumbs. A word of affection. A tiny gesture of care. a fake promise that things will get better. But they don't. They never do. Because they're not meant to get better. They're meant to keep you in the cycle, and you starving for validation. Chew on those crumbs like they were feasts. You feel alive. For 5 minutes. Then the emptiness returns. Then the despair returns. Then that question comes back. The one that eats you alive inside. What did I do wrong? And the answer, my friend, is brutal. You didn't do anything wrong. Your mistake was abandoning yourself to become what she needed you to be in order to keep controlling you. And while you try to save the relationship, the one who really needs saving is you. Because this isn't just about your heart. It's about your health. It's about your peace. It's about your vital energy. It's about your masculinity. It's about your very existence as a man. Carl Jung was surgical when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And now you have a choice to make. Will you keep believing this is love? Or will you have the courage to face the truth? That this is actually destruction, disguised as companionship? Now listen closely. If you thought what you heard so far was the worst, you haven't seen anything yet. The game gets darker, more cruel, more perverse. Because once she realizes you are sufficiently weakened, the most brutal stage begins. Conscious or unconscious psychological manipulation. And here comes a word you may have never heard, but have definitely felt: gaslighting. You know when you're sure something's wrong? When you notice a look, a sideways comment, a disguised disdain? And when you try to talk about it, she answers, "Wow, you're imagining things. You're overreacting again. God, you're so sensitive. Everything affects you, huh?" And then you start doubting your own sanity. Am I crazy? Is it me? Am I asking for too much? Number. You are not crazy. You are simply a victim of the most perverse game someone can play, making you believe that your pain doesn't exist. Carl Jung warned about this with a clarity that sends chills down your spine. The worst prison is the one where you don't even know you're imprisoned. And once she sees that the gaslighting has worked, the next phase arrives. Contempt. Remember that look that once desired you? Now it passes through you, like you're just another piece of furniture. Remember that affection that once comforted you? Now it turns to absence, to coldness, to silence. And here she teaches you something in the cruelest way possible. The worst punishment is not screaming, it's not arguing, it's not fighting. The worst punishment is silence. The silence that ignores you, that erases you, that turns you into a ghost inside your own life. And you, the man who was once strong, confident, full of energy, now crawls emotionally behind something that deep down you already know is dead, but you don't want to accept it. You believe that if you just try harder, if you give more, if you prove yourself more, maybe she'll go back to being the woman she was in the beginning. But here comes the hardest, cruelest, yet most liberating truth. She was never that person. That was just the version she needed to be, until she made sure you were trapped. Now, she doesn't need to pretend anymore. And you know what's even more terrifying? Contempt becomes an addiction, because a man who no longer loves himself starts believing that any crumb of attention is love. And you accept it. You accept being ignored. You accept being humiliated in silence. You accept the silence as punishment. And little by little, your identity dissolves. You no longer know what you like, what you want, what you dream of. Your entire life now spins around a single desperate question. What do I need to do to make her love me again? And you want the answer? Nothing. Because the problem was never about what you did. The problem was about who you stopped being. And Jung said it perfectly. What you allow repeats, and what repeats destroys you. And that's exactly what's happening. So now the question is, will you stay in this cycle until there's nothing left of you? Or will you finally understand that the love you're searching for will never come from someone who diminishes you, but from the man you need to rescue within yourself? Now answer me. Looking deep within? No running away? If you've already noticed all of this, if you already feel that she ignores you, drains you, diminishes you, why haven't you left yet? You know why? Because in some twisted way, you still believe she is your salvation. You still believe that if you just do more, love more, prove yourself more, maybe she'll change. Maybe she'll become that woman she was at the beginning. But here's the hardest truth in this entire video. She's not coming back because she never existed. What keeps you stuck is not love. It's emotional addiction. It's attachment dependency. It's an illusion that your mind created. And you know what's even crueler? She doesn't know either. She's not even aware. Because this cycle doesn't come from malice. It comes from the shadow. Carl Jung spoke of this, of what he called the unconscious shadow. The hidden side that you refuse to see in yourself or in her. You think she's your other half, your cure, your redemption. But in truth, she's the mirror of your own unresolved wounds. That emptiness you've carried since you were a boy, that ache of not feeling good enough, that fear of being rejected, abandoned, forgotten, it's that exact hole that makes you accept crumbs, that makes you confuse control with love, that makes you tolerate humiliation in the desperate hope of being saved by the very person who, in reality, is drowning you. And here comes a philosophical punch, straight from Jung's soul. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate. You think you're unlucky in love, and you think you only attract difficult women. You think the problem is the world, is destiny. But no. The problem is that you still haven't realized that no love out there will ever fill the emptiness that was born in here. And the more you try to complete yourself through someone else, the more you lose yourself, the more you shrink, the more you disappear. You don't want love, you want relief, you want anesthesia, you want the unconscious promise that someone, finally, will save you from yourself. But they won't. No one will. Because that's not her mission. It's not any woman's mission. It's yours, only yours. And you know what the cruel irony is? The moment you start begging for love, she loses all desire for you. You know why? Because desire isn't born from neediness. Desire is born from mystery, from presence, from strength. And when she realizes that you're orbiting her universe, that you've lost your center, your mission, your voice, she doesn't love you, she tolerates you. And tolerance, my friend, is the first step toward invisibility. So hear this now. Maybe the most valuable advice you'll ever hear in your life. The wrong woman will never love you. Because to her, you stopped being a man the moment you stopped being whole. And if you don't wake up now, nothing will be left. Not of her, not of you. The choice is yours. So take a deep breath. Because now begins what truly matters. If until now you've felt pain, anger, sadness, confusion, that's good. You know why? Because pain is the first sign that you're waking up. Welcome to your own life. Carl Jung called this process individuation. And do you know what that is? It's the most brutal, the most lonely, the most liberating process a man can ever experience. It's when you finally stop being an actor in someone else's theater and take on the role that was always yours, the protagonist of your own existence. But let me warn you, it's not pretty, it's not poetic, it's not comfortable. It's like dying so you can be born again. It's burning everything you thought you were. To discover who you truly are, and yes, you're going to lose things. You're going to lose the people who don't respect you. You're going to lose those who only loved you when you were small. You're going to lose those who fed off your weakness. And in the beginning, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt because you'll find yourself alone. It's going to hurt because you'll realize that the love you were so desperately searching for was never out there. It's here, inside, in the man you abandoned, just to be accepted. You're going to have to make peace with your loneliness, with your mistakes, with your shadows, with your traumas, with that inner boy who grew up believing he had to be perfect, just to be loved. But here's a truth that no coach, no guru, no self-help book has the guts to tell you. No one's coming to save you. Not her, not love, not success, not money, not even God. Mind, if you don't stand up first, there is only one man capable of pulling you out of the hole you threw yourself into. You. And do you know what the first step is? Stop negotiating your dignity. Stop begging for emotional crumbs. Stop shrinking yourself just to be accepted. Because the man who bends breaks. The man who shrinks disappears. From today on, look, you need to understand one thing. You don't need to be loved. You need to be whole. Because a man who is whole doesn't orbit anyone. He doesn't revolve around anyone. He has his own gravity. He is the center of his own universe. And guess what? When you become that man, when you no longer need to be chosen, that's when you become impossible to ignore. Because now, she looks at you and realizes, this isn't the weak man I used to control. This is a man I cannot bend. I can only admire or lose. And here's the most cruel, the most liberating, and the most powerful truth of all. You don't care anymore because you no longer live to be accepted. You no longer live to please. You no longer live to be desired. You live for your mission, for your truth, for your peace, for your freedom. Carl Jung once said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." And today, you woke up. The question is no longer, how do I make her love me? The question now is, what must I build to become the man who can never be destroyed again? Now listen, and listen with your soul wide open. Because if anyone ever sold you the idea that being free, being whole, being a real man would be easy, they lied to you. Freedom comes at a price so high, most will never pay it. Do you know what the price is? The price is being misunderstood. The price is having people call you cold, arrogant, heartless, when in truth, you've simply stopped allowing anyone to control you. You'll hear it. Wow, you've changed. Wow, you've become difficult. Wow, why are you so defensive now? But the truth is, you didn't become difficult. You became unreachable. To those who only knew how to love you when you were weak, and here lies one of the greatest pains that few men ever have the courage to face. When you heal, you lose those who only knew how to love you broken. And here's the irony. The very same people who criticize you, who judge you, who try to pull you back into the old cycle, are the ones who, deep down, respect you more than ever. Because the world, people, and especially women, they may never say this out loud, but they know. A man who does not bow is a man who cannot be discarded. You know that guy who does everything, who's always available, who lives trying to please? He's never truly loved. He's used, tolerated, and eventually forgotten. Now, do you know the man who knows who he is? The man who doesn't accept disrespect? The man who does not negotiate his peace? The man who does not fear solitude? That man. Oh, that man is feared. That man is desired. That man is rare. But here's the harsh truth no one wants to hear. Not everyone will come with you on this journey. When you rise, some will try to pull you down. When you heal, some will accuse you of being heartless, When you become stronger, some will call you egocentric, and that's okay. You owe no one anything anymore. Do you know why? Because you finally understood something that changes everything. The man who fears losing no one is the man no one can replace. And guess what? When you reach this level, something fascinating happens. Those very same women who used to test you, challenge you, manipulate you, now look at you differently. Why? Because they instinctively know you don't need them anymore. And do you know what's even more fascinating? It's in that exact moment, when you don't need them, that they want you more than ever. Because the man who does not live chasing approval, who does not trade his power for affection, who does not sacrifice his masculinity for companionship, that man becomes magnetic. That man becomes irresistible. That man becomes free. But be careful, freedom is not loneliness. On the contrary, freedom attracts relationships that are healthier, stronger, more real. But freedom requires a filter that separates those who walk beside you from those who just wanted to keep you on a leash. Carl Jung once said, "Freedom is not the absence of commitments, but the ability to choose and commit to what is right." And that's it. You no longer need to keep running. You no longer need to keep bowing. You no longer need to be the man who destroys himself just to be accepted. From now on, you only bow to your own truth. Now look in the mirror. Really look. No filters, no excuses, no protective narratives. What do you see? The man you've become, or the man you abandoned yourself to be. Because let me tell you something, and if this is the only thing you take away from this video, it's enough. You are not a victim. You never were. You were a volunteer. You accepted every crumb. You tolerated every disrespect. You ignored every time your gut screamed, "Run." You sold your soul in exchange for acceptance. And do you know why? Because you believed a lie. The lie that being loved is more important than being whole. But that illusion dies today. Here. Now. From this moment forward, you've seen. You woke up. And once you see, you can never unsee. The man you need isn't out there. It's not in the right woman. It's not in money. It's not in status. The man you need is the man you buried inside yourself. The day you decided to be small, just to be accepted. And guess what? He's still there. He never died. He was just waiting for you to finally have the courage to go and bring him back. And when you do that, when you finally understand who you are, you will realize that no one can destroy you anymore. No one can bend you anymore. No one can make you feel small ever again. Because now you understand. You don't need to be loved. You don't need to be accepted. You don't need to be chosen. You only need to be whole. And when you become whole, you don't chase anyone. You don't beg anyone to stay. You don't beg for love, yet because love is not something you beg for. You simply live in your mission, in your purpose, in your truth. And guess what? When you live like that, the entire world changes. People change. Relationships change. Because the man who does not need to be chosen becomes impossible to ignore. And if you've made it this far, it's because deep inside, a part of you already knew this. You always did. So, if this video spoke to you, if it shook you, if it showed you something no one else ever had the courage to tell you, then do this. Hit like. Subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, watch the video that's on the screen right now, because it's the natural continuation of this awakening. And I promise, it will change the way you see all of this even more. Do you know why? Because now you are no longer the man you were yesterday. From today on, you will never be the same man again.